many people facing social isolation and stress brought on by this pandemic, mindfulness has become a major coping tool. More and more businesses tapping into mindfulness as well. For example, Fitbit, for example, teaming up with mindfulness expert Deepak Chopra with audio and video classes for premium subscribers. Well, author, alternative medicine advocate and mindfulness expert Deepak joining us now from California, and it's good to have you on. You are a world-famous wellness leader. You've been studying the mind-body connection for over 50 years. Your insight and thoughts are so valuable to so many of our viewers who may be struggling around the world, and understandably so. Can you explain, for those who might be less familiar with the concept of mindfulness than others, what some of the benefits are and how it can be used as a tool for all of us?
So mindfulness just means to be present in this moment, to be present to this moment and respond consciously. That's all it means. Most of us respond like a bundle of conditioned reflexes and nerves triggered by people and circumstance into predictable outcomes. In other words, our conditioned mind is an algorithm. Mindfulness allows you to step back and choose your responses, and therefore facilitates what we call intuition, insight, inspiration, vision, creativity, and conscious living. And it has profound effects on the body, because whatever happens in the mind is recorded in the brain and the body. Body-mind should be considered one unit, like space-time, mass energy, wave particle. And today we can measure in real time what's happening in our mind and how it's reflected in our body through heart rate variability, core body temperature, electrodermal responses, and many other things, including breathing rate. So the partnership with Fitbit is just called the Mindful Method. And what it is in real time, you can look at if you're stressed or not, and you can in real time intervene. So now we have data to prove what we've been saying for 50 years.
Well, this is fascinating. US lawmakers have told CNN that they plan to introduce the COVID-19 Mental Health Research Act to fund research on the mental health consequences of this pandemic. And, you know, we may not have heard a similar line from other governments around the world, but certainly people pushing their governments to do more on what is a part of the health service which has been so underfunded, if funded at all, in places around the world. It is impossible to quantify the toll of the last year. People have lost their jobs, they've lost their loved ones, they oftentimes have lost a sense of identity and purpose. What are the sort of no-cost, simple tips that you would recommend for someone who is really struggling right now? Somebody who might be watching this conversation that you and I are having and thinking, just help me out, please.
Okay, so here's the big data point. Right now, suicide is the second most common cause of death among teenagers. Last year, more people died from suicide in Japan than from COVID. Every 12 seconds, somebody is committing suicide in the world. While we are focusing on other things, including what's happening with the royal family, etc., there's a tragedy going on in the world. And we cannot wait for governments or special interest groups. We have to democratize mental well-being. So our foundation, the Chopra Foundation, has launched something called neveralone.love, neveralone.love, www.neveralone.love. Check it out. We have an AI that can diagnose or at least have an idea if somebody is distressed within a few seconds. People are more vulnerable talking to a machine these days than to human beings. That tells us something about how incomplete our humanity is. But we have now, our AI has intervened in approximately 500-600 possible suicide attempts. We've had over 1 million conversations going on in just the last few months. So we need to democratize well-being. Simple tips: attention, deep listening, affection, deep caring, appreciation, being grateful to the people in your life, and acceptance. Don't try to change them. If we can create a pandemic of these four A's: attention, appreciation, affection, and acceptance, even through the internet, we have a beginning. But we have to get back to normal, which is we have to engage in social intercourse.
Deepak, it's a pleasure having you on. You've called this period an existential spiral. Let's hope that people take your advice, particularly those who are finding it tough at the moment, and don't get into that existential spiral. I hope that you will eventually say, when all is said and done, that we avoided it. It's been a pleasure having you on, sir, with some sage words and advice as ever. Thank you. We will be